Hi, Debbie. So glad you're here.
Hi, Susan. Me too. I'm excited to chat with you.
And about such a great topic. So, one near and dear to both of our hearts. I'm going to read a little bit of your bio and then we'll jump into the conversation. Debbie Reber is a parenting activist, a New York Times bestselling author, podcast host, and speaker who moved her career in a more personal direction in 2016 when she founded Tilt Parenting, a top resource for parents like her who are raising differently wired children. The Tilt Parenting podcast has grown to be a top podcast in kids and family with nearly 3 million downloads and a slate of guests that includes high-profile thought leaders across the parenting and education space. She's a certified positive discipline trainer, a regular contributor to Psychology Today and Attitude Magazine, and her newest book, Differently Wired, Raising an Exceptional Child in a Conventional World, is just a huge hit, one that I recommend, as well as your community, just because you're serving such a really, really important, valued, and needing support niche. So thank you for your fantastic work and the beautiful heart that you give it. Anything I left out about what you do?
No, I'm just thank you for those kind words. And I feel like we're so in alignment in the respectful way that we approach children. And I'm just grateful to be in this journey with you.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about our conversation, and for a lot of parents, rest is like a dirty word. It's a 4-letter word that's like violates some construct that we've developed about what it means to be a good parent, a good partner, a good member of our community, a good sister-in-law, a good daughter, all the things that have kind of been embedded in our consciousness, particularly as women, but not exclusively. So what do you think that's about and what can we do?
Yeah, and I am a total type A person, control, busy all the time, million projects. And so I think that's just the way so many of us have been operating on autopilot for so long. And it's just something I've been thinking a lot about now, especially, and I'm sure you're hearing this too, because of COVID, we're just like, we're recognizing, or those patterns have become really visible to me. And I'm starting to wonder, what is that all about? And I think it depends on where people are in their age journey and their trajectory. But so much of it, I will say, for me, has been about showing up and trying to prove I'm good enough, or I have worth, or I can contribute. And it's almost a compulsion for so many people, especially women, to be always doing the things.
Yeah. This is a little bit of a tangent, but some years ago I took a self-defense course called Model Mugging, and it was really powerful. And one of the things that happened in this course is that it was all women of all different ages, and there are 2 men who are dressed in kind of spacesuits, completely padded, every portion of their body, so you could kick them really hard wherever, and they'd be protected. And then there's the instructors as well, and you're taught how to do things like say no. And if one of them is coming too close, you're taught to say, that's too close, I'm not comfortable, back up. And if they keep approaching, then you're taught to yell no. And it's so emotional, Debbie, like people are sobbing, women, as they're saying no. And I recommend this to anybody and everybody, especially for parents of younger girls, because it's about this boundary setting thing. And one of the things that they point out is that women have been socialized to be helpful, to serve. So you could be in a deserted downstairs garage parking lot, and then somebody could approach you and say, can you help me find this place? And that part of you that's like, oh, I have to be helpful, is in conflict with the other party going, with alarms going off saying, wow, there's nobody around here. And that person doesn't look, I don't know, I don't feel safe. My instinct is to not engage in a closer distance with this person. And there's this kind of war going on, and it's informed by, I'm supposed to be helpful. And so I bring that into this conversation because I think that the more we can be aware of, oh, there's that voice saying, I'm tired and I need to rest. and I want to help my neighbor with her, but I'm really tired and depleted. And then there's the other part that's so deeply programmed in us. Oh, but she's so nice and she doesn't have the kind of help she needs and it won't take you that long. So I don't know if you want to kind of play off that, but that comes to mind when I think about this whole place of us, especially as we approach the holidays, saying, what are my limits and what are my boundaries? And can I comfortably live through like setting them?
Yeah, I love that example. And I just another side note, do you think this is a generational thing? Like I really don't know that young women are growing up with this same sense of needing to always be showing up and helping and giving of themselves. Like I really think it's something I really had to learn how to do for myself. And it's really uncomfortable the first, when you start kind of setting those boundaries. And I just downloaded another book on my Kindle about boundaries. This is a work in progress for me.
Hard to know. I mean, I don't know. I am in my 60s, so for sure I'm of a generation and different from my mother, who's 100. And so I think that you might be onto something in terms of our 25-year-olds struggling in the same way. I guess it also depends on what you grew up with and what was modeled for you and what the rules were as they were presented to you. But for those of you listening, whatever your age, I would invite you to just sort of take a breath and take this in and consider when you are tired. First of all, let's take it down to the basics. Do you know?
Yeah. What does that feel like in your body to be tired, right? Because so many of us are even just cut off from the information our body is giving us all the time.
Yeah.
And again, it's that autopilot. It's a great question to start with.
Do you know when you're tired? What does it feel like? And then if you notice that there's a deep level of fatigue, especially as we head into the holidays, the end of the year, there's sort of this kind of, I don't know, energy wise, it just feels like the end of the race. Like this is the end of this year's race. And the finish line is in sight. And as soon as you cross it, there's like a whole new world of new things to take on. And I'll get to that after the first of the year. But to just become aware of what it feels like to be depleted, to have to talk yourself into doing one more thing. I think the more we can be gentle observers of those dialogues between our ears around, I should. I should.
Yeah.
So holiday wise, like I know you talked about your Tilt member community. I'm talking about it with my Parenting Without Power Struggles community. Trying to just encourage parents first to notice what your level is energetically and where you might be ignoring that. Do you want to kind of share a little bit of what you've been talking about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of what is coming up in my community is the expectations and demands surrounding families and get-togethers and travel and rituals surrounding holiday celebrations. And so I feel like what I'm noticing is that there are more parents and moms in particular, that's who I am most in relationship with, who are starting to question, like, wait a minute, I can actually say no to this because this actually isn't the best thing for my whole family right now. This isn't the best thing for me. And that has been really exciting to see. Again, it's uncomfortable for so many people, but there is a lot of work happening right now and growth spurts happening right now around learning how to navigate tricky relationships with family and friends who might be placing demands on us. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. And I think part of what we practice is, saying something like, just, I see how desperately you wish we could come and that just isn't going to work for us this year. And, repeat after me, everyone. I see how desperately you wish this could happen. I see how desperately I wish it could happen. And that just isn't going to work for us this year. And that just isn't going to work for us, know. And notice what feelings come up for you, like panic for some or heartache for others, like, oh, but grandma just really, and there's no easy answer. Nobody can tell you to say yes to that and no to that other thing. You have to trust yourself. And sometimes it's impossible.
Well, what I love about what you just shared is you also, there aren't excuses. It's not going to work for us. I mean, I have a friend who, we have regular meetings in different groups. And when she's unable to attend, she just says, I'm so sorry, I'm going to miss you today.
Love it. Oh
And
my
I'm
gosh.
like, oh my God, you can just say that? And it's so beautiful and simple. And we don't owe people explanations or, and that is part of the boundary too, right? Because that pressure of, I mean, that's so much energy that we're using to think about how am I going to say this in a way that isn't going to offend this person? Or how am I going to say this in a, we can't control everybody else's experience of this. So I love the simplicity of what you just shared.
Yeah. And being very present with what it might mean to you or what meaning you might make of someone who potentially might judge you or be hurt or withdraw. I know for me, one of the totally greatest things about getting older, which I just want to jump up and down and wave my arms and have a parade about, is caring less and less about the opinions of people who don't actually want to be in a real relationship with me, because a real relationship with me recognizes my frailties and limits and flaws and beauty and gifts and all. It's the package deal. I have a whole tribe of friends that I've been friends with for over 40 years. I mean, literally the same 8-10 women and friends and their partners, and anything goes. There's just so much generosity in those relationships. And so we test relationships, and sometimes if that person insists and pushes and says, well, why not? Well, that's not a very good reason. Well, couldn't you do this other thing? Couldn't you do that on Tuesday? They start getting involved in orchestrating our schedule so that we can do the thing they want. And now you've just gotten some information about where that person fits in the orbit of your friendships.
Yes,
right?
100%. And you'll know too, right? Like going back to the body, if you share that information or you tell someone I can't attend this, or we won't be able to make it, and they push back, like listen, pay attention to that uncomfortableness that is or those alarm bells, whatever that looks like. That is information to pay attention to.
I love that. And a lot of times, I'm very interested in patterns. A lot of the work I do in my parenting community and my memberships and everything is helping parents choose what things to perpetuate in terms of how they were raised and the things that they internalized as the way to approach a situation with their kids. If you were raised by a parent who yelled at you or sent you to your room or shamed you, then instinctively that's going to come out when you're in stress mode, when you're overwhelmed and your child does something similar, that you'll shame or you'll threaten. And so a lot of the work is sort of like cleansing those patterns out of our system. For a lot of us, you'll notice that thing you were just saying in the body because it's all over your life, or it's so much a part of your childhood, as we were saying at the beginning, that you were raised in a climate where perhaps your mother, more likely your mother, possibly your father, modeled for you this martyr sacrificing, that was noble, and might have been just howling in rage internally, but smiling when she made yet another meal for the 20 relatives. And we as kids pick up on all the subtle stuff, not just the superficial, and might have started thinking that's how I need to be as well. So if you have that reaction, gosh, that's a gift, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If we listen to it, if we pay attention to it, and I'll just share that I am so grateful. I have a sister who's 2 years older than me, and we're very close, although we were not when we were being parented. But we are making so many discoveries together, when we are with our family. Both my parents are still alive, and we debrief afterwards, and we're still kind of learning where so much of our own stuff comes from. And it's been really fascinating to process that with her. A lot of what you just, suggested, how we don't have a voice in a conversation, or setting a boundary makes other people uncomfortable. So we don't want to do that, like trying to unlearn all of that.
Wow. Wow. It's really exciting to me. I mean, I find this work so thrilling that there's so many of us, you know, doing work in one form or another with parents, wanting to kind of help break the cycle so that we raise kids who can be helpful and be of service. We're not suggesting that everyone should just look out for themselves, but in a way that's genuine and in integrity with their body's needs, their family's needs, their personal needs, their limits, their all of that. So consider it even when you turn your kids down because you're not saying yes to something they desperately would like you to do because you're just tired and you want to take a bath or put your feet up or watch TV or something that might look very kind of, I don't know, not very helpful, right? That your children are observing you, looking to strike a balance, and that they get a different message internalized so that when they're adults, they're like able to say, no, that just won't work for me. Like it just flows. It just is
It
easier.
is, I think it's a gift when we model us taking a break. And, you know, I said in the beginning of our conversation that I am one of those people who's always doing things. And I always have a million projects, and you know, I have a little superwoman statue over here because that's what, you know, some of my friends think that that's what I am. But, you know, more and more I just did this the other night. I'm done. Like, I can't interact with you people anymore today. I need a break. I'm going to the room. And, you know, and when I do that now, I have a 17-year-old, they are very sensitive to what I'm going through, and they'll, you know, and actually will knock on the door. Is it okay if I ask you a quick question? Like it's actually teaching, you know, empathy. It's teaching perspective taking, and it's teaching, you know, them that it's okay to take time for yourself if you really need that.
I love that. I love that. And we do that too. You know, my husband and I, sometimes we love to be together, but sometimes, you know what, I'm going to just have my own night tonight. I'm just going to do my own thing. And there's a lot of respect for that. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on, which here comes the, oh no part, like, but you know, at this point, nobody has to listen to anything I say. I mean, you guys don't have to agree. Okay. It's okay. But I'm offering you, the possibility, at least, of hearing another thing you might consider doing for some period of time over the holidays, which is put your computer somewhere far away, shut it down, or hide it. I do that for, well, this will be about 17 days. I'm going to be shut down from the 17th until the 3rd of January. And I've done this every year. And I usually do it a second time in the summer. And it's really hard. And it's getting harder because there's just, oh, I just want to look up this one thing. But I got to tell you that after a couple of days, my nervous system goes, oh my God. There's something about restoring a natural rhythm. And I'm old enough, which always sounds so weird because I feel like I'm about 27, but most of my life, or at least half or a little more, was without computers. Well, computers, but not the internet. And to see in this just 30 years how it's taken over every aspect of life, that you could be in a doctor's office and not just look around and you'd have to grab your phone, or that you could be waiting in line or at a restaurant with your loved ones and be looking at your phone. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who want to be a little more hardcore, consider even taking 3 or 4 days for you and your family to try that out and just see what it's like. The first day or two, as I said, is kind of weird and uncomfortable and awkward. You might decide, well, I'll look up something on my phone if I need to. Others will say, no, I'm just text me if you need me. That's the extent of the use of my smartphone. But after a little bit of time, there is a way that the urgency leaves your orbit. There's nothing to check. Yeah. And I find it deeply restorative.
Mm. Oh, you are inspiring me. I used to take a social media hiatus for 2 weeks over the holiday, and I've been flirting with the idea of doing that again. But I love this idea. I'll say what I'm working on right now, which I'm going to expand on, is even just, my routine, right? These are all habits that we have.
Yeah.
And so disrupting the habit is really
Yeah.
important. My routine has been after dinner, I come down, I wash up. My husband usually cooks, and then I wash up and I come down to my office, and I've got my two computers here, and I'm like, okay, it's time to get back to work. And I've done that for years. And I'm starting to be, like, what are you doing? There's nothing, you don't have any deadlines tomorrow. You could answer those emails in the morning. And so it feels really big, but I close the computer
Oh,
and I grab a book and I go sit in a chair with a blanket, and it still feels like,
wow.
I feel like I'm at a spa. I'm like, who even are you? You know, but it feels so, yeah, indulgent, and I'm sleeping better because I'm just
Right.
winding down. It changes everything.
Wow.
But I'm having to, like, I have to consciously make that choice every
Yeah.
day to
Yeah.
close that
Yeah.
computer.
Me too. And what I notice is because I've meditated my whole life since I was 16, 17, and of course didn't have to compete with it. Oh, there might be some emails I have to look at until some decades ago. But I still notice now that there's a like a back and forth inside of me, a push pull that wants to meditate before I do anything.
Mm.
But then there's but so and so might have reached out. Oh, but so and so's on the East Coast, and they might, that there's this, and I'm enjoying being an observer, almost like they used to have the cartoons with the devil and the angel, like like duking it out,
Mhm.
and just noticing it. And sometimes the best I can do is stay very aware of the discomfort of not knowing if those emails have come in, acknowledge it, and then I get to choose. Sometimes I will make an exception, say, you know what, the pressure is really high. I really feel somebody's waiting. I'm going to go check. But I try and make it more intentional and less reflexive. Like, this is just what you do. Grab your phone in the morning. Never sleep with I never have a phone in my bedroom. So there has to be sort of a waking up and sort of arriving into the world back in my body, and then a choice. I always want it to be a choice. But that's so beautiful that you're giving yourself these little micro steps. And I think that's all I would hope we could invite people to do as we wrap up, like to think about a small little adjustment that people could make that would be in service of more rest.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And the thing I've been encouraging people to do going into this break too is to just really consider the things that they may not have written down, but that in the back of their mind they're going to be doing, right? Cleaning out this silverware drawer or that closet. I always go into these breaks, I get so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do all of these things, and it's going to feel great because I'm going to declutter, I'm going to clean, or whatever it is. I really like to clean and organize. It's one of my things, but I am I am just lowering that bar. I am crossing so many
Wow.
things off that list. I'm just going to work on one little project, and I don't even expect to finish it. I just don't want to
Oh,
I don't want to schedule myself and then start the new year with the sense of unaccomplishment, right? Or disappointment in myself.
yeah, I love that. And just again, just become more aware in a kindly, non-judgmental way of the dialogue inside of you, or the discomfort in your skin between the part of you that just says, please leave me alone. Please let me just lay down in the chair with the blanket and the book. And I might even fold the book and just, let my eyes close for a little while, or listen to music that restores my spirit, or call a friend, for no good reason, just to hear their voice. And like, these things are so part and parcel of who we are as creatures.
Mhm.
And so to observe the conflict or the anxiety or the pressure or the stress, oh, if I don't get it done, my list will just be longer. And to be kindly toward that part of yourself that's trying to kind of crack the whip. And then to say, yeah, I know, I might end up with a longer list. And for now, this is what I need. and to just love yourself enough, honor yourself enough, value yourself enough to know that you also don't need to give an excuse to that part of you. You don't have to say, but I'm really tired. No, you're not that tired. If you'd like gone to bed earlier, like even to have the dialogue inside yourself with justifying. You don't even need to give yourself a reason. I just don't feel like doing that right now.
Yeah. Oh,
Scandalous.
it feels so good. Like if we can practice that once a day, like not to give you a to-do, but if just kind of remembering
Yeah.
that, you know, I'm going to put that on a post-it and stick it here just so I can remind myself. Doesn't need to get done today. And what would it feel like to just say no to that?
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So Debbie, tell people a little bit, because I love your community so much and all the things that you offer, and where to find you, and if you have any final thoughts.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, as you said in the intro, my work really is around supporting parents who are raising neurodivergent, what I call differently wired kids. So kiddos with ADHD, gifted kids, autism, sensory issues, learning disabilities. And I love this community so much because our kids are so awesome and these parents are so brave and really show up in such a authentic way so that they can parent from a strengths-based point of view and really embrace who their children are. And so all of my work happens at tiltparenting.com. I have a podcast, a community, and it's all really centered on the parent experience, you know, and supporting ourselves through this journey.
So great. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful work. I send people there all the time.
Thank you.
Y'all know my work is at susanstiffelman.com, but I'll say a little bit more in the wrap up. For now, Debbie, just thank you. And I hope you get some good rest over the holidays and get absolutely nothing done. I hope you're just a
I love
useless
that.
slouch. Like,
Thank you so much. Thanks for having this conversation. I think it's just a gift to remind ourselves that we are worthy and giving ourselves permission to just give ourselves what we need in the moment is enough.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, Debbie.